to another episode of Monday Mornings with Mao with Comrade Zhou. Can everyone hear
Hello?
him? Hi.
Hello?
Let me adjust the volume so that people can hear him. You?
Okay.
Okay. Now can you say something?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anyone here yet? Oh, we have a few people. So let's just wait a minute or two. How are you doing today?
It's okay. How about you guys?
Good. We went back an hour, I guess. Do you guys do that in China or no?
I'm still in China and we still keep the old time.
Okay, so you
Because
keep the same time all year round?
yeah.
Okay, so now you're 13 hours ahead of us now then.
Here is because here is like 22:02.
Yeah, so you're 30. It's still 9:02 here.
Yeah, I know, but here don't change.
I know, I'm just saying, so now it's 13-hour difference and not 12.
Yeah, 13 hours.
Mm,
So, how's everybody doing?
everyone's, I guess, okay, so um, I guess we're doing good. Let me see. Do you remember where we left? Okay, we have a good number of people. Everyone say hi on the chat and respond, and be sure to like, subscribe, click on the bell, and on top of that, be sure to personally message your friends and family. Just like send them a message saying, "Hey, this is pretty cool Chinese philosophy, Mao," and ask them to come and watch this. Okay, so do you remember where we left off last week? Because we
I
were
I remember it's 19 or 20.
Okay. Give me one sec. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay. So let me start reading. It is the
19 or 20. You can find the number.
yeah, I see it. Give me 1 second.
Should we just send the link
Yeah,
there
I'm sending
again?
the document. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Um, no. Give me a second. I need to where I see the document. Give me 1 second. I accidentally quoted it instead of copying it. It's Monday morning and I haven't had my coffee yet, but I'm so glad. Like the really cool thing about this is that we can just no. Hold on. I had it last week. Oh, where did it go? Okay, give me a second. Um, I see it now. It's on Discord. I forgot that you put it on Discord, not WeChat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a second for everyone. It's still Monday morning and I haven't had my coffee. So this is like expecting me to have my coffee before I've actually had my coffee, which is okay, found it. Here you go, everyone. I shall put it in the chat. And
And
yeah, last night I was on Katie Halper's show where we discussed the Green New Imperialism and how the US is not at all serious about anything. Like, for example, the entire bill, if they're serious about a bill, they should kind of have at least know what is required, what is to be done, what is required in order to fight climate change. They don't even have a study for the emissions or anything like that, and you know that they're not at all serious.
it's just for me just to just more like an excuse to obsess other countries. That's all.
Exactly. So okay. What is the page? I forgot what the page number is.
Uh, okay, let me find it for you.
Okay, so it is. I have the PDF, which is the selected works of Mao Zedong, Volume 2,
Uh,
103 or something, I
have to, uh,
believe. On Protracted War, I found it. Never mind. We're on page. It starts at page 100. Let's see. uh, it starts on page 113 in the book, and we went until number 19. So
Yeah.
let me start reading and just feel free to interrupt. It says we're at if the subjugation is, quote, the history of failure. So that's where we are. Oh, no, we're on compromises or resistance,
Oh yeah.
corruption or
Yeah.
progress. So section 20. Let me start reading and feel free to interrupt whenever you want, okay?
Wait a minute, and let me just turn my computer to this page.
Okay. Let me see if I can turn up the mic a little bit
So,
more.
so you see, I have two computers to do that, and it's kind of slow.
Okay. Good morning. Was it bom dia in Portuguese? Portuguese? Um, yeah, it is. COP26. It's all about. It's basically a private equity fund. Okay. With that we begin. Okay.
Oh, Alexandros, that's my friend.
Oh, hi. Okay. It has been fully explained above that the theory of national subjugation is groundless, but there are many people who do not subscribe to this theory. They are honest patriots who are nevertheless deeply worried about the present situation. Two things are worrying them: the fear of a compromise with Japan and doubts about the possibility of political progress. These two vexing questions are being widely discussed and no key has been found to their solution. Let us now examine them. As previously explained, the question of compromise has its social roots. As long as these roots exist, the question is bound to arise, but compromise will not avail. To prove the point, again, we only need to look for substantiation to Japan, China, and the international situation. First, take Japan. At the very beginning of the War of Resistance, we estimated that the time would come when an atmosphere conducive to compromise would arise. In other words, after occupying China, Kiangsu, and Zhejiang, Japan would probably resort to the scheme of inducing China to capitulate. True enough, she did resort to that scheme. But the crisis soon passed, one reason being that the enemy everywhere had pursued a barbarous policy and practiced naked plunder. Had China capitulated, every Chinese would have become a slave without a country. The enemy's predatory policy, the policy of subjugating China, has two aspects: the material and the spiritual, both of which are being applied universally to all Chinese. Not only the people of the lower strata, but also to the people of the upper strata. Of course, the latter are treated with a little more politely, but the difference is only one of degree and not of principle. In the main, the enemy is transplanting into the interior of China the same old measures he adopted in the three northeastern provinces. Materially, he is robbing the common people even of their food and clothing, making them cry out in hunger and cold. He is plundering the means of production, thus ruining and enslaving China's national industries. Spiritually, he is working to destroy the national consciousness of the Chinese people. Under the flag of the rising sun, all Chinese are forced to be docile subjects, beasts of burden forbidden to show the slightest trace of Chinese national spirit. This barbarous enemy policy will be carried deeper and deeper into the interior of China. Japan, with her voracious appetite, unwilling to stop the war, there is no escape from fate, and hence an absolute hostility has crystallized. It is to be expected that on some future occasion the enemy will once again resort to the scheme of inducing China to capitulate, and that certain subjugationists will crawl out and most probably collude with certain foreign elements to be found in Britain, United States, France, and especially among the upper strata in Britain, as partners in crime. But the general trend of the events will not permit capitulation. The obstinate and particularly barbarous character of Japan's war has decided this aspect of the question.
Okay, see, this is the point. This is the point. Okay, if Japan want to scare people, scare Chinese people, to make Chinese people submit to their ruling, and after that they can use the manpower of China to help them to conquer other place. This is how they did. They conquered Korea at the first place and used Korea's manpower to attack China.
That makes
They,
sense.
they yeah they took Taiwan and then they used the manpower from Taiwan to attack China as well.
Oh,
It's
wow.
because they were out of number. They didn't have this bigger population. Because their invasion doesn't match their territory and the population. They
Yeah.
don't have that kind of power.
Basically, they
Actually,
can't fit any. I mean, they only like they can only live in 20% of their land, and they need about 15% for farming. So people are living in about 5% of their land, which is very small.
yeah, and actually, if you put this scenario in today's scenario, like capitalism, yes, they have all the resource, they have all the land, but they're out of number.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough people. If you just put the Wall Street and the military industry complex, how many people do they have?
I don't know.
They don't have enough.
Maybe I don't know.
They're out of number. If
Y-
there's no farmer to grow food for them, they will starve.
Yep.
So it's the same thing. They have to like use working class work for them
Mm-hmm.
against the other people,
Mm-hmm.
against other countries like China, Russia,
Mm-hmm.
Iran, all those countries. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same idea. They they are just like a small tribe. They just get themselves stronger by conquer other people and use those conquered people as their slave to
Mm-hmm.
attack the other people and make them bigger and bigger. It's their strategy. But this kind of strategy cannot last forever. American people are already suffering from this for a long time. God knows how long time. I would say like 100 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but if I were in America, I would be sick and tired of this system. I would want this opposite. Because I know in this system, I would have no future.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't have a future, and that's why there is such a big problem of, say, like the opium addiction,
Yeah,
so much devastation. If you go to the interior, it's just terrible.
like what you said last time when you go to the Middle West,
Mm-hmm.
people there don't have access to clean water.
Nope. In a lot of places, they don't. And
Yeah,
yesterday, for example, Joe Biden tweeted out something like, "Oh, we're gonna like this new like infrastructure bill is giving access to pipes, but guess what? It is not giving access to pipes. It's like a completely half-assed measure that is basically transferring money over to some sort of building firm, and it's all dependent on how nice of a building firm you have, whether they
and,
cheat or not, whether they complete the
and,
job. Yeah.
yeah, and talking about this issue, you have to think about this question first. Because after deindustrialized America for this many years, does America still have that this many qualified workers to do that job? I
No.
don't think so.
The Council
So
for
what?
Foreign Relations more or less admitted that America can't do large scale construction projects like, it doesn't have the expertise for large scale construction like high speed rail or whatever.
So their strategy would be easy. They just import some like illegal immigrants to do their job, and of course they can pay those illegal immigrants less and very less,
Mm-hmm.
basically nothing. So they can make a big profit
Mm-hmm.
for those big companies, and those companies can just give the you guys call it campaign contribution
Mm-hmm.
to the politician, so that they can make the game continue. This is
Mm-hmm.
just another way to that dirty trick. It's just like the military industry complex. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. And in if we put this in this scenario, like cause in Japanese in like Japanese empire strategy, they want to conquer China and use Chinese people's China's manpower
Mm-hmm.
to help them to like beat whatever, like for example America or something.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of strategy cannot work.
Mm-mm.
I think I think it's the same idea. The stretch from Wall Street and the bourgeoisie or military industry complex, that kind of stretch cannot last forever. It
Mm-hmm.
won't work forever. And it just depends on when would be the time for American people to wake up.
I
That's
don't
all.
know. Unfortunately, like I said, the problem is that we need to start early at the beginning. Like, we first need to build a vanguard, which is people who are both well trained in the art of dialectical materialism. And also, on top of that, we kind of need to help them understand what is wrong with the world because you can't really fix what is wrong, what you don't know is wrong.
Mhm. Okay, how about this? Let me give you an example. When Mao just go to Jinggang Mountain,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, a lot of his Red Army don't have that kind of idea. Only few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he still made this work. He just go there and tell he went there and told those people, told the mass what the problem is, and he was quite convincing. They he made them believe because what he said makes sense for them. They said, yeah, it's my life. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to do exactly the fact. So we believe you, and we know that's the problem. We would follow you. We would even to sacrifice our life for maybe for the future of our class or something.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that essentially the reality of the the reality of the American experience is very different in that their reality, like there's a divided reality. So
Yeah,
for one half, the system makes perfect sense, and everything the elites say is perfectly on
yeah,
par, and for
yeah,
the other half, it doesn't. So it's a different task. But let me
yeah.
continue.
Mhm.
Second, part 22, page 130. Second, let us take China. There are three factors contributing to China's perseverance in the war of resistance. In the first place, the Communist Party, which is the reliable force leading the people to resist Japan. The next, the
Oh,
Cuomo,
KMT,
yeah,
Kuomintang,
KMT, KMT,
KMT.
which depends on Britain and the United States and hence will not capitulate to Japan unless they tell it to. Finally, the other political parties and groups, most of which oppose compromise and support the war of resistance. With unity among these three, whoever compromises will be standing with the traitor, and anybody will have the right to punish him. All those unwilling to be traitors have no choice but to unite and carry on the war of resistance to the end. Therefore, compromise can hardly succeed. Third, take the international aspect. Except for Japan's allies and certain elements in the upper strata of other capitalist countries, the whole world is in favor of resistance and not of compromise by China. This factor reinforces China's hopes. Today, the people throughout the country cherish the hope that international forces will gradually give China increasing help. It is not a vain hope. The existence of the Soviet Union in particular encourages China in her war of resistance. The Socialist Soviet Union, now strong as never before, has always shared China's joys and sorrows. In direct contrast to all the members of the upper strata in the capitalist countries who seek nothing but profits, the Soviet Union considers it its duty to help all weak nations in all revolutionary wars. That China is not fighting her war in isolation has its basis not only in international support in general, but in Soviet support in particular. China and the Soviet Union are in close geographical proximity, which aggravates Japan's crisis and facilitates China's war of resistance. Geographical proximity to Japan increases the difficulties of China's resistance. Proximity to the Soviet Union, on the other hand, is a favorable condition for the war of resistance. Hence, we may conclude that the danger of compromise exists but can be overcome. Even if the enemy can modify his policy to some extent, he cannot fundamentally alter it. In China, the social roots of compromise are present, but the opponents of compromise are in the majority. Internationally, also some forces favor compromise, but the main forces favor resistance. The combination of these three factors make it possible to overcome the danger of compromise and persist to the end of the war of resistance.
Actually, here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, like if you put it in today's scenario, like the majority of the people don't want to compromise with those bourgeoisie class.
No.
They want to change. They want to change it. They know that the problem. They know they have to be overthrown. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
no one have a future except them.
Mm-hmm.
They would keep ripping off the whole world
Mm-hmm.
with their USD hegemony.
Mm-hmm.
It will be like the future will be a disaster. Like they will not only ripping off the world from like countries like from China or Russia. They're
Mm-hmm.
also ripping off from the country like France, Italy, Germany,
Mm-hmm.
even UK.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, seriously, I know.
It's so the Wall Street has the Wall Street have to be overthrown. They have to be kicked out of the history. There's no other way.
Yeah. I mean, what I've noticed is that with the European countries, like it's like breaking off slowly, one by one. So it's
Yeah.
not all of them are not breaking off together, but like after the first country, Greece broke off. Suddenly, you get China, whatnot, and so yeah. Okay, so that okay, so let me continue.
No. So in putting this scenario, like the people who are against the Wall Street, also like three parts. One like American people, domestic like real American people, working class, and another is like people from like the big countries like China
Mm-hmm.
who favor from the Wall Street. Also, those people, those countries like Western European country, they are or Middle East country or African country, because they are suffering from Wall Street as well. They don't want this to continue as well.
Mm-mm.
Because it's like this. Because those three, none of them want. That we have to give this some of those like working class. They would want to compromise as well. But in this situation, if you want compromise, other people will see you as a traitor.
Yep.
So you have no way to compromise. Okay, then that's my point.
Hence, we may conclude that the danger of compromise exists and can be overcome. Even oh no, we've finished this. Okay. Now
Let's
the answer. Let us now answer the second question. Political progress at home and perseverance in the war of resistance are inseparable. The greater the political progress, the more we can persevere in the war, and the more we persevere in the war, the greater the political progress. But fundamentally, everything depends on our perseverance in the war of resistance. The unhealthy phenomena in various fields under the KMT regime are very serious, and the accumulation of these undesirable factors over the years has caused great anxiety and vexation among the broad ranks of our patriots. But there is no ground for pessimism. Since the experience in the War of Resistance has already proved that the Chinese people have made as much progress in the past 10 months as in many years in the past. Although the cumulative effects of long years of corruptions are seriously retarding the growth of the people's strength to resist Japan, thus reducing the extent of our victories and causing us losses in the war. Yet the overall situation in China, in Japan, and in the world is such that the Chinese people cannot but make progress. This progress will be slow because the factor of corruption which impedes progress. Progress and the slow pace of progress are the two characteristics of the present situation. And the second ill accords with the urgent need of the war, which is a source of great concern to patriots. But we are in the midst of a revolutionary war, and revolutionary war is an antitoxin which not only eliminates the enemy's poison but also purges us of our own filth. Every just revolutionary war is endowed with tremendous power, which can transform many things or clear the way for their transformation. The Sino Japanese War will transform both China and Japan, provided China perseveres in the war of resistance and in the united front. The old Japan will surely be transformed into a new Japan, which hasn't happened yet, but whatever. And the old China will into a new China. And people and everything else in both China and Japan will be transformed during the war and after the war. It is proper for us to regard the anti Japanese war and our national reconstruction as interconnected. To say that the Japanese can also be transformed is to say that the war of aggression by her rulers will end in defeat and may lead to a revolution by the Japanese people. The day of triumph of the Japanese people's revolution will be the day Japan is transformed. All this is closely linked with China's war of resistance and is a prospect we should take into account.
Yeah.
The theory of national subjugation is wrong, and the theory of quick victory is likewise wrong. In our comparative study of the enemy and ourselves with respect to the basic contradictory characteristics such as relative strength, relative size, progress or reaction, and the relative extent of support, we have already refuted the theory of national subjugation. And we have explained why compromise is unlikely and why political progress is possible. The subjugationists stress the contradiction between strength and weakness and puff it up until it becomes the basis of their whole argument on the question, neglecting all other contradictions. Their preoccupation with the contrast in strength shows their one sidedness, and exaggeration of this one side of the matter into the whole shows their subjectivism. Thus, if one looks at a matter as a whole, it will be seen that they have no grounds to stand on and are wrong. As for those who are neither subjugationists nor confirmed pessimists, but who are in a pessimistic frame of mind for the moment simply because they are confused by the disparity between our strength and that of the enemy at a given time, and in certain respects by the corruption in the country, we should point out that their approach also tends to be one sided and subjective. But in their case, correction is relatively easy. Once they are alerted, they will understand, for they are patriots, and their error is only
Mm-hmm.
momentary. Exponents
Yes,
of. Go ahead.
yes, this is similar, right? You see, it's just like what I said last time. Like those people who think the revolution cannot work are wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and those people who think the revolution can work overnight
Mm-mm.
is almost likewise wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You have to be realistic. You have to be objective. Don't be subjective. You have
Yeah.
to put yourself underground.
It's like the
This is,
tortoise and the hare, where the hare, it's like where the hare leaps forward first, but then halfway through it gets distracted, and the tortoise is like slow and steady and ends up winning the race.
yeah, it's something similar. You
Yeah.
have to just do the step by step. But another thing is you have to do it. If
Yes.
no one wants to do the revolution will never happen.
Correct.
You have to do it, but do it as, like a step by step. It will work.
Exactly. Okay. Let's see. Do you remember where we are?
Mm-hmm. I remember. 27.
Okay. Exponents of a quick victory are likewise wrong. Either they completely forget the contradiction between strength and weakness, remembering only the other contradiction, or they exaggerate China's advantages beyond all semblance of reality and beyond recognition, or they presumptuously take the balance of forces at one time and place for the whole situation, as in the old saying, a leaf before the eye shuts out Mount Tai. In other words, they lack the courage to admit that the enemy is strong while we are weak. They often deny this point and consequently deny one aspect of the truth. They often deny this point and consequently, okay, sorry, they nor do they have the courage to admit the limitations of our advantages and thus deny another aspect of the truth. The result is that they make mistakes, big and small. Here again, it is subjectivism and one sidedness that is doing the mischief. These friends have their hearts in the right place, but they too are patriots. But while the gentleman's aspirations are indeed lofty, their views are wrong, and to act according to them, we to them we certainly be to run into a brick wall. For if appraisal does not conform to reality, action cannot attain its objective. That's a very good one. For if appraisal does
Yeah.
not conform to, and I have yet to see any American with major influence make like a appraisal of the whole world situation even remotely conform to any reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Uh,
also, it's like when we just see the writing, we have to see the trend as well. In this scenario, like China was weak at that moment compared to Japan. But how about 2 years ago? Would China still be weak compared with Japan? Or
no,
the situation change?
many things
But
have
so
changed.
yeah, so we should put that idea into our scenario as well. It's true.
Yeah.
American bourgeoisie is strong at this moment. So will they be still strong after 1 year or 2 years?
And now
I
they'll be
don't.
weaker because what'll happen is that they'll be able to get like less raw materials and they'll be able to just like what they did like even last week. I don't
Yeah.
know how many oil shipments from Iran they've used to loot, but last week they didn't succeed. They got stopped. And if like and if Iran can like successfully stop that like on a regular basis, suddenly the price of everything's going to go up and they're going to be much weaker.
Now also you forgot the hyperinflation thing. Because I saw a picture it's like 2 days ago. Well, that's from one of my friend. He said like 16 pound of turkey, the price of 16 pound turkey goes almost 100% compared with last year.
Wow,
I'm
how
not
much is
sure
it
whether
now?
last year is like 28 something. This year is like 56 something.
Oh wow, that's a lot. That's like double.
I said it's almost like 100%, but I'm not sure it's true or not. For you guys who are in America can check by your own. You don't have to take my word.
Yep.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm, I'm not in America. I
Okay.
Predate. Do we deny?
If okay, and to act notwithstanding would mean the army's defeat and the nation's subjugation, so that the result would be the same as with the defeatists. Hence, this theory of quick victory will not do either.
This is
Do
like an
we
overnight
deny
thing.
the nature of national subjugation? No, we do not. We recognize that China faces two possible prospects: liberation and subjugation, and that the two are in violent conflict. Our task is to achieve liberation and avert subjugation. The conditions for liberation are China's progress, which is basic, and the enemy's difficulties and international support. We differ from the subjectionists. Taking an objective and all sided view, we recognize that the two possibilities of national subjugation and liberation and stress that liberation is the dominant possibility, pointing out the conditions for its achievement and strive to secure them. The subjugationists, on the other hand, taking a subjected and one-sided view, recognize only one possibility, that of a subjugation. They do not admit the possibility of liberation and still point out the conditions necessary for liberation or strive to secure them. Moreover, while acknowledging the tendency to compromise and the corruption, we see the tendencies and phenomena which we indicate will gradually prevail and are already in violent conflict with the former. In addition, we point out the conditions necessary for the healthy tendencies and the phenomena to prevail. We will strive for the healthy tendencies, and we will strive to overcome the tendency to compromise and change the state of corruption. Therefore, contradictory to pessimists, we are not at all downhearted.
Yeah, I mean, during the revolution, there always like the reverse trend. That shit will always happen, and then we have to just overcome it.
What will
Like
always
the
happen?
the counter revolution thing.
Ah, yeah, yes. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, the counter
Uh,
revolution.
the I call it just the reverse type of revolution, because those people always want to come back, or for example, the corruption will happen in our team as well,
Yeah.
in the revolutionary team as well. Don't think it won't happen. It will happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it's okay for every team to have problem, but it's not okay to like leave the problem there. Don't just kick the can.
No, you
You
have to
have to
solve
solve
the
the
problem.
problem.
Yeah, or figure out how to solve it and write down the recipe, I guess.
If you really wanted to solve the problem, you just to first you have to recognize the problem, then you
Yes,
make your solution and execute it. That's all.
exactly. Okay, so let's see.
29.
Not that we would like a quick victory, but everyone would be in favor of driving the devils out overnight. But we point out that in absence of certain definite conditions, quick victory is something that exists only in one's mind and not in objective reality, and that is a mere illusion, a false theory. Accordingly, have made an objective, comprehensive appraisal of all the circumstances concerning both the enemy and ourselves. We point out that the only way to final victory is the strategy of a protracted war, and we reject the groundless theory of a quick victory. We maintain that we must strive to secure all the conditions indispensable to final victory, and more fully, and the earlier these conditions are secured, the surer we will be of victory, and the earlier we shall win it. We believe that only in this way can the course of the war be shortened, and we reject the theory of quick victory, which is just idle talk and an effort to get things on the cheap.
Also, there's another thing. Like, if you just wanna if you always think you can make the revolution work overnight, and then in reality you cannot do it, what will happen?
You'll
People will
get
lose.
demoralized.
People will, yeah, people will. First of all, a lot of people will just die in vain for your wrong victory,
Mm-hmm.
because you will like just attack those big cities, which will make you feel miserably.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like people will lose faith in you, because they put their faith on you,
Mm-hmm.
but they think you can win.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause no one wants to follow a loser, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you just prove you are a loser, why people should follow you?
They shouldn't.
See, that's the thing. That's why we have to do things carefully and objectively.
That makes sense. Okay. Um, why a
Right.
protracted war? Now let's examine the problem of protracted war. The correct answer to the question why a protracted war can be arrived at on the basis of all fundamental contrasts between China and Japan. For instance, if we say merely that
Isha,
the
are you
yeah,
okay?
yeah, what's wrong? Am I offline? Hello? Give me 1 second. Maybe his internet is off. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, I'll just wait for him to come back. Um, yeah, transformation in. Like, how is it even like? Maybe it's also too expensive to get these like skills because like university and higher education is not in the same price range. Well, the modern left has a lot of wins. You just can't be jingoistic about it. Look at Evo Morales, Nicolas Maduro, Hugo Chavez. Just in the U.S., it's like why Nazi Germany doesn't. Oh, sorry, that was. Sorry about that. I should be a little bit. Um, yeah. I don't know what I should do. We'll just wait for. Oh, he's here. Okay, excellent. Okay, so yeah, it looks like you're. Can you
Yeah,
hear
okay,
us?
yeah, yeah, I can see now. I can see now.
We can't hear you. Can you do whatever you did before?
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, okay. Cause before I cannot hear you. I don't know what happened.
You
I
can't hear
don't.
me?
I mean before. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, let me continue. Let us
Sorry,
examine.
sorry.
Let us examine the problem of protracted war. The correct answer to the question why a protracted war can be arrived at only on the basis of all fundamental contrasts between China and Japan. For instance, if we say that the enemy is a strong imperialist power while we are a weak semi colonial, semi feudal country, we are in danger of falling into the theory of national subjugation. For neither in theory nor in practice can a struggle become protracted by simply pitting the weak against the strong, nor it can be protracted by simply pitting the big against the small, the progressive against the reactionary, abundant support against the meager support. The annexation of a small country by a big one or of a big country by a small one is a common occurrence. It often happens that a progressive country which is not strong is destroyed by a big reactionary country, and the same holds for everything that is progressive but not strong. Abundant or meager support is an important but a subsidiary factor, and the degree of its effect depends on the fundamental factors on both sides. Therefore, when we say the war of resistance against Japan is a protracted war, our conclusion is derived from the interrelations of all the factors at work on both sides. The enemy is strong, we are weak, and the danger of subjugation um and the danger of subjugation, where are we, is there. But in other respects the enemy has shortcomings and we have advantages. The enemy's advantages can be reduced to his shortcomings, aggravated by our own efforts. On the other hand, our advantages can be enhanced and our shortcomings remedied by our efforts. Hence, we can win final victory and avert subjugation, while the enemy will ultimately be defeated and will be unable to avert the collapse of his own imperialist system.
Yeah, it's true. It's like today's scenario, right?
Hmm.
We are weak, and the compared with us at least, Wall Street is strong,
Hmm.
but they are out of number. What they have is only those money. But when the American dollar treatment collapse, all those money they have in their hand will become toilet paper.
Yep,
They
like in
have their also,
1929.
yeah, also they're out of number.
Yep,
We're the majority. They're the
we are
minority.
7 billion strong, and they're probably 100,000 people, if that, right?
Yeah. So like we have our outstanding, and they have their weakness.
Hmm.
And with the time, our 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 outstanding can be, can reduce their advantage step by step.
Well, I mean, it already has. Like, for example, Ethiopia. Right now, yesterday I read an article where this guy was talking about all the modern infrastructure there. And before, apparently, he used to live in a small town. And to go to work, he had to take a highway, and it used to take 3 hours. But now I believe it's a train and it takes 40 minutes. And suddenly, the Ethiopian government is very strong. It is not submitting to all the IMF agreements. Everyone's life is better in Ethiopia. And when everyone saw that their life is better, they're like willing to fight even stronger. So, like, that's one example. And I was just looking at a video of Senegal and I was just shocked because, not shocked, but I was happily surprised in that a lot of Senegal's infrastructure is more modern than anything you can see in the U.S. Are you there? Where did he go? What's parochial mean? Oh, parochial. Sorry. Okay. I am. My computer's fine. I know you're offline again. Just come back online. Okay.
Back now. I can hear you now.
Okay. Excellent.
I did.
Don't go offline if you can't hear me. Text me because even if you can't hear me, as long as the audience can hear you, that's good. Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, since the enemy has
Wait. I want to clarify. I didn't offline by myself. I will kick out by the system.
Oh, okay, no worries. Okay, well then just just text me and then I'll send you the link and you can come back again whenever you get kicked out by the system.
Okay.
Okay. Since the enemy has advantages in only one respect but shortcomings in all others, and we have shortcomings in only one respect but advantages in all others, why has this not produced a balance, but on the contrary, a superior position for him and an inferior position for us at the present time? Quite clearly, we cannot consider the question in such a formal way. The fact that the disparity between the enemy's strength and our own is now so great that the enemy's shortcomings have not developed, and for the time being cannot develop to a degree sufficient enough to offset his strength, while our advantages have not developed, and for the time being it cannot develop to a degree sufficient to compensate for our weakness. Therefore, there can as yet be no balance, only imbalance.
Yeah, it's like the war spirit is still strong compared with us, but with time, it will it will, the advantage will be fit by our effect or by other scenario. But the thing is, it takes time. We haven't reached that point, so it's still imbalance. So that's why it's the Patriot War. That's all.
Patience.
Patience. Yeah.
Although our efforts in persevering in the war of resistance and the united front have somewhat changed the enemy's strength and superiority as against our weakness and inferiority, there has as yet been no basic change. Hence, during a certain stage of the war, to a certain degree the enemy will be victorious and we shall suffer defeat. But why is it that in this stage the enemy's victories and our defeats are definitely restricted in degree and cannot be transcended by complete victory or complete defeat? The reason is that first, from the very beginning, the enemy's strength and our weakness have been relative and not absolute. And that second, our efforts in persevering in the war of resistance and in the united front have further accentuated this relativeness. In comparison with the original situation, the enemy is still strong, but unfavorable factors have reduced his strength, although not to a degree sufficient to destroy his superiority, And similarly, we are still weak, but favorable factors have compensated for our weaknesses, although not to a degree sufficient to transform our inferiority. Thus, it turns out that the enemy is relatively strong and we are relatively weak, and that the enemy is in a relatively superior and we are in a relatively inferior position. On both sides, strength and weakness, superiority and inferiority have never been absolute. And besides, our efforts in persevering in resistance to Japan and in the united front during the war have brought down further changes. Brought down further changes. Where are we? Further
Yeah.
changes in the original balance of forces between us and the enemy. And therefore, in this stage, the enemy's victory and our defeat are definitely restricted in degree, and hence the war becomes protracted. Oh,
Yes.
thank you so much, Abby from Britain. We really appreciate the pounds. Thank you so much. Um,
Okay. This is quite similar to today's scenario as well, right? And
mhm,
when the revolution happens, like we, of course, compared with us, their army was is strong. We
for
were
now.
got defeated. Yeah, for now, we were got defeated like at the very beginning. Like every when you check every revolution, almost the same thing. The revolutionary power got defeated at the very beginning. But the victory from the counter-revolutionary part is not absolute. We would have the chance to win as long as we continue, as long as we persist.
Yeah.
But as long as we persist, as long the victory is not absolute.
Well, like I said,
The it will be changed. The scenario will be changed.
so it's kind of funny because I remember like I was just watching some videos from the Vietnam War and somebody asked Ho Chi Minh this question, like it looks like South Vietnam has everything and you guys are still weak and whatever, and then he said that well, ultimately the war, ultimately we have to live in Vietnam and Americans don't, so they can always get out. So we're here forever and that is our strength. So yeah, like they're not gonna like you they can't get their soldiers to fight like such a they got it for about 10 years, but then the soldiers started mass defecting and like fragging, which is killing their officers, and then they realized, oh, not going to have a country for much longer if we continue this war, and that's why they pulled out. But yeah, it,
Even
it,
in that situation, think about it. When those like American army like fought the revolutionary power for whatever reason, right? When they got defeated, like when it lasts longer, because they don't fight for honor or for people's benefit, they fight for money. Okay,
mm-hmm.
if there is like a, because when that's in that situation, even their hometown will be in danger. They will think of like protecting their hometown, protecting their family,
Mm-hmm.
not just defeating the revolutionary army. When the time goes on, everything will be changed. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, they are always out of number.
Actually, it's funny because I was watching, and this was after Ho Chi Minh had died. So this was so the Vietnamese Liberation Army. They were like making projections apparently in 1974, and they were saying, "Oh, this war is gonna last another like 4 years or whatever in order to conquer what is now Ho Chi Minh City, what used to be Saigon." But then, like within 4 months, everything just like disintegrated because half the South Vietnamese army just changed sides. And so by 1975, in April, it was just like 4 months later, they were just like, even the, when the North Vietnamese or when the wait, what do Vietnamese call their army? People's Liberation Army?
Oh, okay, it just doesn't matter. Just a name.
Okay,
We
I'll
know
just
which.
call it the Army of Vietnam. Okay, the Vietnamese National Army, when they came to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, in April, like the first thing they said when Western journalists were interviewing them, they're like, "Oh, I'm really surprised. We didn't expect such a quick victory," and it's because when the other side did not have much to fight for, and then they were thinking, and after like a talk with like a village elder or a grandfather or something, a lot of these people were persuaded to just turn in their arms and go join Ho Chi Minh's army because they were like, okay, we're fighting for our country. The Americans aren't here, and what's the point? And then they promised not to have charges, and they didn't. So everything, it was just like really easy conquering many towns because all it was just like people just turning in their weapons and and going back to training and switching sides and coming. So
Yeah. Also, remember what happened in Afghanistan?
yeah, if a few months ago, you're right. The military rapidly disintegrated. Like Ashraf Ghani said that they were gonna last for 6 months,
Yes.
and they didn't even last for a whole week. They disintegrated much faster than the South Vietnamese army.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing. Think about it. It's like in that scenario, like those people think they fought for the warlord and the other like whatever, like the American
Yeah,
interest or Wall Street, right? But in our scenario, they would right. They are actually fighting for who? For Wall Street, not fighting for themselves.
yeah,
They got fucked up as well, not by us, but by the Wall Street.
yeah. And the funny thing with Afghanistan is that in 96, for example, the Taliban was only like 95% Pashtun speakers. But then this time, the Taliban was able to go and convince some Uzbeks and Tajiks and Kazakhs. Are there Kazakhs in Afghan? I hope there are. And other language speakers, Persians, Urdu, or whatever, like all of them joined like they made a coalition because they're looked at what's the alternative, and it's like, do we want to be ruled by this rapey warlord? No. So the enemy's actions over time will also make people who weren't willing to fight last time around willing to fight this time.
Yeah. Also, you have to remember one thing. Like it doesn't matter like how advanced their weapon is or something like this. After all, doesn't matter how advanced the weapon is. The weapon should still be used by humans.
Hmm.
If they don't have the will to fight, it doesn't matter how advanced their weapon is. That won't make a difference. They will just give in.
Yeah. And with Afghanistan, like the only reason this whole U.S. occupation lasted so long is that the U.S. had dumped millions and billions. There's like so many weapons there, and every idiot has like a lot of weapons. So, but once these weapons were all used up, everyone changed their idea of what they were willing to risk because what they were going to get in reward became less and less. So around 2015, you started seeing the Taliban picking up a lot of steam in basically in other ethnicities, other languages, other religions too.
Yeah. Also in China, it's almost the same thing. In Chinese Civil War between 1945 to 1949, America gave a lot of help, like assistance, to KMT army.
Yep.
And it turned out in the end they didn't have the will to fight. They just
Ran.
turned aside to become like the Chinese, like the Communist Party's army.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter how advanced your weapon is. If the guy who holds that gun don't have the will to fight, what's the point?
Yeah, and again, if you're under a capitalist regime, there is only so much you can give that soldier to motivate him to fight. Like you might be able to bribe one soldier, but you sure as hell are not going to be giving millions of soldiers lots of money because that like eats up your fundamental profit. And if the profit motive is primary, your whole calculus and strategy ends up changing. Like the U.S., for example, just like randomly drop bombs. Like it's not like they were trying to win or lose. They were just trying to keep the machine running so that they could get a lot of profit.
So the way, okay, I want to just answer something short said. I said yeah, the KMT got a lot of help from America. And they said they fought fight. Yeah, at the very beginning they fought fight. I'm talking about at the end. Okay.
Uh huh.
For some army, they really fought a very like a graceful, but in the end, they didn't. Like after the 19 got captured by CPC,
Mm-hmm.
nobody fight That's the whole point of long march. Come on, long march drill. When was the long march happen? That's what are you talking about, short? Are you Chinese or something?
Oh, what's wrong? Who are we? Don't get distracted. Okay, let's kick.
Oh,
Okay, anyone who's annoys people are getting kicked out. Okay, I hit him.
oh,
Okay, don't get distracted. Don't look. Um, okay, he's kicked out from the channel.
I mean,
Yeah, personally annoying me or we're very authoritarian here. Personally annoying either of us will get you kicked out from the channel. Um, okay. So yeah, and like I said, and there ultimately is no creativity involved when you're so like well funded. Like half them. I mean, you all heard about the kamikaze Japanese fighters. But did you know that the Russian fighters were able to kind of do the kamikaze tactics without destroying their plane and without dying? Like they figured out a way to kind of crash into somebody else's plane and still, and I don't know, like just not like destroy the enemy's plane but also not die themselves. And so that like when you don't have resources, you are way more creative.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so let me continue.
Even I mean, even during the Chinese Civil War, they just devised some weapons. What's that? It's just they call it cannon, but that's not correct cannon. It's something very funny. It's just a big can with a lot of gunpowder inside it to
Hmm.
bomb another place. But it's quite strong. You have to give it. It's funny, yes, but
Yeah,
it's quite creative.
that's funny. I need
Because
to figure.
when you're out of resources, you have no other choice. You have to be creative to fight.
Yeah, I mean you have to try all. I guess be creative on all cylinders. Okay, let's see.
But
I forgot
33,
where we are.
33, 33,
Okay. Um,
33.
but circumstances are continually changing. In the course of the war, provided we employ correct military and political tactics, make no mistake of principles, and exert our best efforts, the enemy's disadvantages and China's advantages will both grow as the war is drawn out, with the inevitable result that there will be a continual change in the difference of comparative strength and hence in the relative position of the two sides. When a new stage is reached, a great change will take place in the balance of forces, resulting in the enemy's defeat and our victory. At present, the enemy can still manage to exploit his strength, and our war of resistance has not yet fundamentally weakened him. The insufficiency in his manpower and material resources is not yet such as to prevent his offensive. On the contrary, they can still sustain his offensive to a certain extent. The reactionary and the barbarous nature of his war, a factor which intensifies both class antagonisms within Japan and the resistance of the Chinese nation, has not yet brought about the situation which radically impedes his advances. The enemy's international isolation is increasing, but is not yet complete. In many countries, we have indicated that they will help us. The capitalists dealing in munitions and war materials and bent solely on profit are still furnishing Japan with large quantities of war supplies, and their governments are still reluctant to join the Soviet Union in practical sanctions against Japan. From all this, it follows that our war of resistance cannot be won quickly and can only be a protracted war. As for China, although there are some improvement with regard to her weakness in the military, economic, political, and cultural spheres in the last 10 months of resistance, it is still a long way from what is required to prevent the enemy's offensive and prepare our counteroffensive. Moreover, quantitatively speaking, we have to sustain certain losses. Although the factors favorable to us have a positive effect, it will not be sufficient to halt the enemy's offensive and to prepare our counteroffensive. Unless we make an immense effort, neither the abolition of corruption and the acceleration of progress at home, nor the curbing of pro Japanese forces and the expansion of anti Japanese forces abroad are yet accomplished facts. From all this, it follows that our war cannot be won quickly, but can only be a protracted war.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Just think about in our own scenario, like today, like their strength is still strong, and our strength is growing,
Mm-hmm.
and their strength is declining. But it hasn't reached that balance point. It still takes time, and also like in our side, even working class, some
Uh-huh.
working some workers, some people from working class still got the benefit from those impairs.
Oh, yeah, they still, I mean, a lot of people in the imperial court still do. And even if you don't get benefits from the imperialist, you're still looking at everything from the bourgeoisie point of view. Let me
Yeah,
give you an example. Most Americans don't realize that when it comes to the Soviet Union or China, their entire point of view is that of like a, I don't know, like an automotive company or something like that. So when they call China authoritarian, it's because, for example, there was a there was this Canadian company called Justra Mines or something, and
mhm.
they were using child labor, and they wanted China to let them import some crap despite using child labor, and China's like, no, 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 you're not gonna import that. Boom, there was nothing to say. U.S. on the other hand, under the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, they're like, "Oh, totally cool. We'll sign a waiver." So when you're that mining company, China looks super authoritarian because China said, "No imports, go away. There's nothing for you to say, go away." But Americans don't realize that the entire news system is giving information from the point of view of the CEO of of the mining company, as
Yeah.
opposed to the slave child miners or whatever, and so they end up thinking. So even if they're not getting the benefits, they're still thinking from the point of view of a bourgeoisie. And if they think from a point of view of a bourgeoisie, they'll always reach the conclusion that the bourgeoisie wants you to reach.
Also, you have to remember this. Like today, after today is the reason why America still have enough staff is because of the American dollar hegemony,
Mm-hmm.
right? For example, some people who like I don't know, just like I'm not from America, but I say you just give me a number like for average American to earn for every month,
Hmm?
2,000 American dollar. Like how much dollar can American can for average American to earn for 1 month?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Can you repeat the question again?
That's how much money can average American earn for 1 month the salary, the income.
Okay, so the minimum wage in New York is about $15 an hour. So let's say that, but let me see. Let me just look this up. It depends on the state, I'd say. But so let me. Okay, so the median salary is let's see. Uh, okay, so the lowest is in oh, no, no, sorry. The lowest is in Mississippi, which is let's see. Let me divide the number.
You can just give me like 1 month.
Yeah, no, no, no. No, I have to divide a year's salary by 12 to do that. But let me figure that out. Um, five. Uh, okay, let me. This feels. Oh, poor people. $2,548 is the median wage in Mississippi.
Okay, think about for a guy who earns this kind of money, he can still afford his life.
No,
Why?
he can't.
I
Barely.
mean, hardly, but he still
Okay,
doesn't
so
get
like for
any.
example, he can rent a house. He probably can't buy a house.
He
No, he
can
can
rent
rent.
a house.
he can rent an apartment. Probably can't buy an apartment.
And then buy some food. He does
Yeah,
so starving
he
compared
he
to
won't be
with.
starving, but yeah, it's like he can afford. Like it'll be barely above the his head will be barely above the water. He's not going to be drowning in debt, but his head like he'll head is barely above the water.
But compared with those like the bottom people from other countries, like for example India, in
Oh,
that
in
sense.
India, if you're making I don't know, like the average salary,
No,
you're
I mean
definitely
the
can't even
low.
afford your own apartment. You're going to be
I
living
mean,
in like a
I
room
mean,
or a hostel.
no. I mean the bottom.
Oh, the bottom, you have nothing really, literally, absolutely nothing. You're like it's like what China used to be under, like, okay, not as bad as what China used to be under Tibet, under the Dalai Lama, but okay, a little better than that.
It's
But
almost the same. I
what?
understand, but but for those people who under the minimum wage in Mississippi, they feel their life is still better than those bottom those who, compared to those people those bottom people from other countries, for example
Yeah, like
India.
India or
They,
Pakistan, Bangladesh,
they think
anywhere in,
their life is still better.
yeah,
They think their life is still better.
they
So
are. I mean, objectively speaking, they are.
yeah, so they want that to continue. They don't want to like they always think that the life can go worse, but they just don't think
Yeah. It's
in
going to
that.
get worse because when you can't imperialize other countries, like the US, look at who the US is number one like what kind, who they, like a lot of imports come from South America and Africa. And
Yeah,
if those countries cut off the gravy train, so the bourgeoisie will have two choices. Either they eat some of the profit or they raise the price of everything. And we all know what choice they're going to take. They're going to raise the price of everything. And then the salary, as we know, it hasn't, like minimum wage has not risen since 2000. Can you believe this? Since 2008, Americans have not had a higher minimum wage.
yeah. Also, I want to give you another information.
Uh huh.
Technically, it's free. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Like back to 2001 when China just getting to getting what's the name of that organization? Whatever the international trading organization.
Are you talking about the WTO?
Oh yeah, WTO, international what is the WTO?
Mm-hmm.
China just agree with about one thing. Chinese yuan will be backed by American dollar, which means every time when we print RMB, we
Mm-hmm.
have to like got one USD to print that
Wait,
amount
I
of.
don't understand. Why is that?
They back to those days, they just want to they think if you just like overprinting, there might be a mass or something. But then now this policy has been abolished, which means
I don't
you
understand. Can you repeat this again? I really don't understand.
before RMB is backed by USD,
Uh huh.
which
So,
means
if you well, okay, so if you were the Chinese government would have to exchange some renminbis for U.S. dollar.
so just like cause we export a lot, right? So we
Yes.
got a lot of USD from whatever country.
Mm-hmm.
But for China, if we want to printing like for example, now the exchange rate is about 6.4 to 1, like 6.4 RMB to exchange $1.
Uh huh.
I just give you an example. If we want to print like 6 RMB and 40 cents,
Okay.
we have to have $1 in our hand.
Okay.
But now that policy is abolished, which means America you can print as much dollar as you want. Don't care. We don't care.
But
We
I
will,
see. So Americans can't buy the. Oh, okay, I see. I see. So then, like the RNB, like even if they print more dollars before, they could still buy stuff for 6.4 RNBs. But now it's dependent on what China decides. So if they print more money, it's not necessarily going to increase the number of things they can buy.
yeah. We can just like change the number to like maybe 5 or 4. Before it's 6.4, now it may be four RMB equals 1 USD. Or
Mm.
you even could be like 1 RMB equals like 20 USD or something. If they just keep printing, I don't know. You don't know the future, right? If they like, God knows how much dollar is like Trump administered printed in the last year, and this year God knows how much dollar they printed.
Yeah.
It's we in economists call it hyperinflation. When this kind of stuff happens, no one knows what the next step will be.
Yeah, yeah, and that's because they are expecting the old relationships to last. Like before China, like all of Asia they could like just print more dollars and then like get Indonesia, China, Korea, et cetera, to just like export more crap. And now it's not going to be the same thing. So doing the same thing they did before is not going to work.
Yeah. Also before like American dollar is the reserve currency for most countries. Like for big countries like China, we have to import the oil to produce everything, right? It's called the oil.
Oh yeah, now you guys signed a deal with Iran where I forgot which money, but you guys aren't using the dollar. I think you guys are using RMB.
Um, no, we use like our real stuff to change. It's counted in American dollar, but it's just the real stuff for real stuff.
Okay,
American dollar is just a number.
so Iran is giving you oil in exchange for you building like whatever stuff they ask for.
Yeah, like a theater could be infrastructure or real stuff, for example.
Oh, okay. So it's like a service. Like so they give you what you need and then you provide them a service of like I don't know,
Yeah,
building whatever buildings.
and maybe the number is in American dollar still, but it doesn't matter because American dollar not get really get involved.
But by the way, I have a quick question. I heard that China and Cuba signed a deal where Cuba signed on to the Belt and Road Initiative. Do you know like what they agreed to? Just curious.
I haven't heard of course this kind of the real situation. It's no cause talking about like a one belt one road initiative. Cause there are too many countries. Talking about Cuba, I haven't seen the
Oh, okay. I
detail.
just heard the Cuban president about a week ago tweeted out something like how Cuba has joined the Belt and Road Initiative and they are looking forward to cooperating with future projects with China. So I was just curious what they agreed to work with China on.
I guess there will be a lot of infrastructure. I just
Okay.
guess. Also, like we made a deal with Russia and Iran
Oh,
also.
well, no, Russia is the number one recipient of all the Belt and Road projects. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah,
projects. And when I went to Russia about 2 years ago, I saw a lot of Chinese people there. And it's really amazing. Like, and then really, you can see the difference between China and America in that when you see Chinese people in Russia, they speak fluent Russian, they know all the customs, all the culture. And I don't know how to explain it. When an American comes to Russia, no matter what, you're like, oh, is that person American? But when a Chinese person is in Russia, you think, is he from Siberia? Is he Russian? Like you don't know because he's so good with all the customs and stuff like that.
yeah. But maybe with a heavy accent. I don't know.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at it, like, yeah, okay, like when, like, I see that respect. So when I see,
Yeah,
when in Moscow, when you see Chinese people, you're going to think, wait a minute, is he from Siberia? Maybe he's from the district near. You're not going to think, oh, he's Chinese because he's respecting all the customs. He knows not to be rude to the waiters. He knows what to, you know what I mean? He knows how to read,
yeah,
and that's you don't see any like when Americans are in Russia, they're just obnoxious, and it just shows you the difference between how respectful Chinese are of other cultures, and and so in America when they say, "Oh, China is doing I don't know imperialism in Africa," you're like, no, because I've seen that whenever like a Chinese company goes abroad, they know everyone's fluent in the language. Another example, when you look at I was shocked. The Chinese ambassador to Serbia speaks, she loves Serbia and she speaks fluent Serbian without an accent and all sorts. And the American ambassador cannot even read in Serbian and he has to tweet out in Croat. So you see that there is a difference in the level of respect China
yeah, yeah.
gives countries versus US.
Also, I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember Russia just dumped all the USD they have in their they hold it in their hand.
I don't know. Did they? Where did they?
Also, another thing is China and Russia made a deal. We will trade in our own currency
Ah,
without USD. Isha, is it there?
yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Okay, you're disconnected. Let me send you this. Uh, sorry, he'll come. I don't know what to do. Uh, Sorry about this. Okay. Let's see. Last night I was on Katie Halper's show talking about the BRI a little bit, and yesterday I also did a stream on green imperialism. Check that out. Um, okay, he's here. Excellent. Okay. What were you saying about Russia and China?
We made a deal, like we will just trade in our own currency.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just get rid of the USD. Also, Russia just dump all the USD they have in their hand.
Where did they dump it to?
In the market, I remember they dumped like 97% of all their American bond in their hand.
Okay. That makes. And what does that do usually?
They just cause cause okay. Let me explain this. We all know American printed money like no tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Uh, the essence of printing money is like collecting tax from all those American dollar holders.
Mm-hmm.
So if you dump all the money, all the USD bond, then you don't have USD in your hand.
Mm-mm.
In this situation, American cannot collect tax from your head anymore.
Collect what?
Collect the tax.
Ah.
Because they print money means it's weakening your purchasing power, right?
Yeah.
So it equals to like collecting the tax from your head.
Mm-hmm.
If you just, I don't want that money. I can change. I can hold like a gold or hold RMB in my hand, or even
Mm-hmm.
hold a euro in my hand. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I can switch to other currency. As long as I don't use USD, then you cannot collect tax from my head anymore.
Ah. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Okay. So, let's see. Do we have any questions? Or any super chats? Let's actually watch a 30-second commercial because we should.
Need more anarchists dunked on, Nazis ripped apart, and the libs' real intentions to be trotted out? Hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and then go over to historically.substack.com and check out our newsletter and podcasts.
Okay, sorry. I should I just play that periodically because when you say I've noticed that far too many people, like I was looking at our statistics and there are a lot more people who watch our streams than subscribe to it. So I figure if we should periodically remind them every once in a while.
Okay, that's funny. 20 people are watching. 21 person.
Yeah, welcome.
Give a like. Give a like to our. So
And subscribe and pay via super chat. And yeah, so do we have any? We have about 6 more minutes left. So do we have any? Oh, we have one question. No, we addressed that. Let's see. Do we have anything else to address? Besides well, I mean, anything else you want to talk about with regards to the U.S., the Belt and Road Initiative, or anything else?
About the U.S. road initiative, there's also another thing I want to mention. Because we all know this for a fact. Of course, for example, a lot of like third world country got the just they own the debt from to American government during the independence process. So when they're in trouble, American so American come to them and say you owe me money, so you should pay back. Otherwise, you should give me this or that. Then you know what happened in this moment? China showed up. We have a lot of American debt in our hand, and we told the countries, okay, how about this? I will help you to pay the debt you owe America, but you should pay me RMB later. If you don't money, let's just talk. Like we can do business. For example, you have a dog, you have like that dog which you have developed or something. You can use that, or you can give me some money. Doesn't matter. We can talk, but we would not just tell you you have to do this, you have to do that. It all depends on your own wish. So in this situation, American dollar got kicked out in those One Belt One Road initiative countries.
Yep. I
It
heard in
hurts.
Pakistan, Pakistan used to be like under the. I mean, Pakistan, like there are certain areas, it's like there are so many poor areas. Certain areas, the government doesn't even control that area. It's just like sometimes the military provides ad hoc services, but that's about it. And China, like, I believe one time when Imran Khan came, they just like paid back half of Pakistan's IMF debt, and suddenly Pakistan has a lot more liquidity, and they can like get things like dams and whatever else they want. So in those areas that like before like that were so poor that they couldn't even control anything, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, and then now they even, I mean, China built a dock at Pakistan, and the local government made a tons of money about this. Think about how many oil China has to import from Iran. And if you check the map, China is in the east,
Mm-hmm.
like Pakistan is in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and Iran is in the west.
Yeah.
And we can just, you can, Pakistan you can just collect the money according to this.
Okay, we
Don't,
have
don't
one
even have to
question.
do anything.
Okay, we have one question. It says, kind of like borrowing money from a family
Friend
or
or
a
family.
friend as opposed to a loan shark. Yeah.
Yes, true. It's true.
Um.
Also, we're trying to just borrow, lend money to those poor countries. We don't have that election time, especially political election time. You have to be Democrat or something like that. We
Oh,
don't.
oh, democratic is utter nonsense. They mean capitalist when they say democratic.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
China does not care if you are if you're capitalist, socialist, or whatever other system you want to be.
Yes, it's your own. It's your own issue. You
Yeah.
be the judge.
Yeah, like China like trusts that because China is like a Marxist Leninist country, they trust that people are capable of sorting out their own internal contradictions. So yeah, it's like you do what and yeah, eventually when you remove the axe of the US dollar from somebody, the axe of imperial from somebody's neck, they're going to be able to breathe easily. And nature, if you're really that poor, nature will not nature, but the fact that you want life to be better for yourself means that you will, and if you think carefully, you'll understand what is to be done, I guess.
Yeah. Also, China. We all know that, right? China is good at infrastructure. In
Mm-hmm.
China, we have that saying: if you want to get rich, build a road first.
Yeah. And of course, you should. I mean, it makes perfect sense because if you can't transport materials, you can't get industry. And if you can't get industry, you can't like save on labor. So a lot of these places in Africa, they haven't even industrialized their agriculture, which means they'll always have to be importing food from the West, which is just a bad idea. So China has helped, like Ethiopia now is growing so much more food than it ever was because of these like different crops like rice, yam,
Yeah.
I don't know, all these like really cool genetically engineered crops that China made that allows them to grow with lower water.
Yeah. Also, our point is different than America's point, or I would say Western point. We want the African countries or the African people to be rich, so
Mm-hmm.
that they would have enough money to buy our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our interest to keep them down. It's our interest to keep them rich.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, and then the how do I explain it? Um,
Oh, some people are trading you. He said, I don't have questions, but I just want to see it's just reading them now is perfect, is perfection.
mm,
We'll have to go that direction. Thank you, thank you.
mm-hmm, yeah. Let's see what else. Um, uh, anything like anything else? That's a any last minute comments or. I think the one thing that I wish Americans would do is anytime they hear anything from the news or anything, they just go and check everything to see if it's true or not.
Okay, I will talk about this. I will give you a tip. When you hear some news about China from Western
Just
mainstream
assume
media.
it's a lie.
No, just turn the opposite way. There's a fat chance that the opposite is true. Because I cannot even remember how many lies American media or Western mainstream media, including BBC or something, and
Oh
those
God.
media,
Yeah.
they told about China. I cannot even remember when was the last time they told truth about China. So when they talk about China, the best solution is just let's do the opposite way.
Yeah, I literally assume it's a lie unless they can prove it. And often when you do more investigation, it's so bizarre. It's not like it doesn't prove that the West was lying 100%. Sometimes it proves that they're lying 150%. Like they're not only lying to you, but they're hiding something that makes their actions look even worse to you. So, yeah, all of my episodes are from a non-Western perspective.
So
Yeah.
also talking about I'll talk about me. I will be here like every Monday.
Yep, he will be here next Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. 10 p.m. China time?
Yeah, no, it's like 10 p.m.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, we will see you next week and we will continue with this piece. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Slabotu narodu смерти фашизму.
До свидания.